I bought a spaceship for 50 cents on the galactic internet. Will it even work? Part 1. The listing that made no sense. Sung was bored. He sat alone in the repair bay of Earth Orbital Station 7, watching the clock move slowly toward midnight. Nothing was broken tonight. No engines needed fixing. No life support systems required his attention. The station was quiet, and Sung had nothing to do but stare at his screen. He opened the Galactic Trade Network out of habit. Most humans could not afford anything on the alien marketplace. A simple tool from another world cost more than a year of his salary. But Sung liked to look. He liked to dream about the things he would never own. He scrolled past luxury items, past weapons he could not pronounce, past ships that cost more than entire Earth cities. Then he stopped. His finger froze over the screen. He blinked and read the listing again. Starship fully functional, Class 7 vessel, price, 0.5 galactic credits. 50 cents. The ship cost 50 cents. Sung laughed out loud in the empty repair bay. This had to be a joke. Class 7 vessels were advanced ships that most species saved their entire lives to afford. They did not sell for the price of a candy bar. He clicked on the listing anyway. The page loaded slowly, filled with text written in broken trade common. The grammar was terrible. The description made little sense, but the specifications were real. Engine type, hull composition, weapon systems, life support capacity. Everything matched a genuine Class 7 vessel. The photos were strange. The ship looked damaged in some pictures and perfect in others. Strange symbols covered the hull, symbols that Sung did not recognize from any known species. The vessel was beautiful in a way that made him uncomfortable. It looked old, ancient even, but also somehow new. The listing had been posted 3 hours ago. It would expire in 3 more hours. No one had purchased it. Sung knew this was a scam. He knew it in his bones. People did not sell starships for 50 cents. This was how fools lost their money and their identity codes. He should close the page and forget about it. Instead, he contacted the seller. The message went through immediately. A face appeared on his screen. The seller was a tall species with 4 arms and skin the color of dark blue water. The look tired, more than tired. The alien looked desperate. "You are human," the said. Its voice was flat and unimpressed. "Yes," Sung replied. "I am asking about the ship." "Of course you are. Everyone asks. No one buys." Sung leaned forward. "Why is it so cheap?" There was silence for a long moment. Its 4 hands moved nervously, fingers tapping against each other. "The ship is cursed. By human standards anyway. No species wants it. I have tried to sell it for 10 years. I have lowered the price every month. Now I simply want it gone." "What do you mean, cursed?" "I mean what I say, human. Every crew that boards that ship goes mad. They hear voices. They see things that are not there. They become confused and afraid. Some have died. Most simply abandon the vessel and run." The leaned closer to the screen. "I am the 7th owner. I never even boarded it myself. I am not stupid." Sung should have ended the call right there. A cursed ship that drove people insane was not a bargain at any price, but something kept him watching. Something in his eyes told him there was more to this story. "Where is it now?" Sung asked. "Sector 44, the graveyard." Sung knew that place by reputation. Sector 44 was where ships went to die. Old vessels, broken vessels, vessels that no one wanted anymore. They floated there in endless fields of metal, slowly rusting in the void. If the ship was real, that was exactly where a cursed vessel would end up. "If I buy it," Sung said slowly, "the registration transfers to me legally." Immediately, the galactic courts recognize the sale. The ship becomes yours in every way that matters. The paused. "Are you actually considering this?" Sung thought about his life. He was 28 years old. He fixed things for a living. He had never left Earth's orbital zone. He had never seen another star system with his own eyes. He had dreams once, dreams of exploration and adventure, but those dreams had faded into routine and responsibility. 50 cents. That was all it would cost to own a starship. Yes, Sung said, I am buying it. The stared at him. Then slowly, it began to laugh. The sound was strange and sad, like someone who had forgotten how laughter was supposed to feel. Humans, the said, I will never understand your species. You hear that something is dangerous and you run toward it. You learn that something is impossible and you try anyway. It shook its head. Very well, I accept your payment. The ship is yours, human. May you have better luck than everyone who came before. The transaction completed in seconds. Sung watched as the registration codes transferred to his name. The ship was his. A real starship belonging to a human mechanic who had never flown anything larger than a maintenance shuttle. His arrived for the morning shift and found Sung still staring at his screen. He told them what he had done. They laughed at him for an hour. Park 1, his supervisor, called him the biggest fool on the station. Bin, his friend from the engine team, asked if Sung had lost his mind entirely. Sung did not argue with them. Maybe they were right. Maybe he had just wasted 50 cents on a pile of cursed metal floating in a graveyard. Maybe he would arrive at Sector 44 and find nothing but disappointment. But maybe not. He requested 3 weeks of vacation time. His supervisor approved it while still laughing. Sung packed a small bag with tools and supplies. He booked passage on a cargo ship heading toward the outer sectors. The journey would take 2 days. On the transport, Sung could not sleep. He kept looking at the registration documents on his screen. The ship had a name, but it was written in symbols he could not read. The previous owners were listed in a long chain going back decades. None of them had kept the ship for more than a few months. Most had sold it for almost nothing, desperate to get rid of it. What was he getting himself into? The cargo ship dropped him off at the edge of Sector 44. Sung transferred to a small shuttle and flew into the graveyard alone. Around him, thousands of dead ships floated in silence. Some were ancient. Some were barely recognizable as vessels anymore. The place felt like a cemetery, and Sung was walking among the graves. His navigation system guided him deeper into the field. The coordinates led him past broken freighters and shattered warships. Finally, the shuttle's computer announced that he had arrived. Sung looked through the viewport and forgot how to breathe. The ship was beautiful. It was not damaged at all. The hull was smooth and perfect, gleaming silver in the distant starlight. The strange symbols on its surface seemed to glow faintly. The vessel was larger than he had expected, elegant and powerful in ways that human ships never managed to achieve. But something was wrong. Other ships in the graveyard had salvage crews picking through them. Workers in spacesuits moved around the wrecks, collecting valuable parts. None of them came anywhere near his ship. They flew wide paths around it, avoiding even looking in its direction. Sung docked his shuttle against the hull. The airlock opened without any problem. The ship recognized his registration codes and welcomed him aboard. He stepped inside and stood in the entrance corridor. The lights came on automatically, soft and golden. The air was clean and fresh. Everything worked perfectly. The ship that had driven others mad was waiting for him, and Sung was about to find out why. I bought a spaceship for 50 cents on the galactic internet. Will it even work? Part 2, the ship nobody wanted. Sung walked through the ship like a man walking through a dream. Every surface was clean. Every light worked perfectly. The walls curved in smooth patterns that felt both alien and somehow welcoming. His footsteps made no sound on the floor, as if the ship itself was absorbing the noise. He had expected a wreck. He had expected rust and damage and broken systems. Instead, he found a vessel that looked brand new. The technology around him was unlike anything humans had ever built. The controls did not have buttons or screens. Instead, they seemed to respond to movement and presence. When Sung walked past a door, it opened. When he approached a panel, it lit up with information. How could a ship this advanced be sold for 50 cents? How could anyone call something this beautiful a curse? Sung entered what appeared to be the main corridor. It stretched far ahead of him, branching off into other sections of the ship. He counted at least 20 doors on each side. The vessel was larger inside than it had appeared from outside, which should have been impossible. A sound made him stop. It was small and quiet, like something shifting in the darkness ahead. Sung was not alone on this ship. He reached for the tool kit on his belt. He did not have weapons, only wrenches and scanners, but a heavy wrench could hurt someone if it needed to. "I know you are there," Sung called out. His voice echoed strangely in the corridor. "Show yourself." Silence. Then slowly, a small figure emerged from behind a storage container. Sung blinked in surprise. The creature was tiny, barely reaching his waist. It was covered in soft gray fur, with large black eyes and ears that folded down against its head in fear. Its hands, small and delicate, were raised in a gesture of surrender. "Please do not hurt me," the creature said. Its voice was high and nervous. "I am not a threat. I am nothing. I am no one." Sung lowered his wrench. "What are you?" My name is." The small alien trembled as it spoke. "I was the engineer for the previous owner. When everyone left, they forgot about me, or perhaps they did not care." Its ears pressed flatter against its head. "I have been hiding here for 2 months. I have nowhere else to go." Sung felt something soften in his chest. The creature looked terrified. It looked like something that had been abandoned and forgotten, left behind like garbage. "I am not going to hurt you," Sung said. "I am the new owner." His eyes went wide. "You bought this ship?" "Yes." "On purpose?" Sung almost smiled. "Yes, on purpose, for 50 cents. Stared at him for a long moment. Then the little alien began to make a sound that might have been laughter or might have been crying. It was hard to tell. 50 cents, repeated. They could not even give it away for free, and a human bought it for 50 cents. The shook its head slowly. "Do you know what this ship is? Do you know why everyone runs from it?" The seller said it was cursed. He said crews go mad and hear voices. "That is true," stepped closer, still cautious but seeming less afraid now. "This ship was built by the Pale Architects. They were a civilization that died 10,000 years ago. No one knows what happened to them. They just vanished, leaving their technology behind." Sung looked around at the elegant walls, at the impossible geometry of the corridor. "The Pale Architects built this." "Yes, and every species that has tried to use their ships has failed. They owned it, then others I cannot remember. Each time the crew would begin hearing things, whispers in their minds, images that made no sense. Most of them went mad within days. Some died. The rest fled and never returned." Sung felt a chill run down his spine. He had been on this ship for almost an hour. He had heard nothing unusual. He had seen nothing strange. "Why did you stay?" he asked. The little looked down at the floor. "I loved this ship. I still love it. The technology is beautiful. The engineering is perfect. I could spend a lifetime studying it and never understand everything." Looked up at Sung with those large, dark eyes. "And I believed the stories." "What stories?" "The old legends say that the Pale Architects did not build their ships for themselves. They built them for someone else, someone who would come later, a species that would be compatible with their technology in ways that other species were not." His voice dropped to a whisper. "I stayed because I believed that the right pilot would come eventually, someone who could wake this ship up properly." Sung did not know what to say. He was a mechanic from an orbital station. He fixed engines and replaced broken parts. He was not special. He was not chosen for anything. But the ship seemed to disagree. As if responding to his thoughts, the walls around them began to glow brighter. Panels that had been dark suddenly lit up with information. The air itself seemed to hum with energy. Stumbled backward in shock. "What did you do?" "Nothing. I did not touch anything." The ship is activating. His voice was filled with wonder and fear. In 2 months, I could not make it respond to anything. You have been here for 1 hour and it is waking up. Sung walked toward the nearest panel. Information scrolled across the surface in symbols he could not read. But somehow, looking at them did not feel completely foreign. There was a pattern there, a logic that tickled the edges of his understanding. "Can you read this?" Sung asked. Moved closer, standing on its small feet to see the panel. Some of it, "This is a status report. Systems are coming online. Life support, navigation, propulsion." The paused. "And the central intelligence." Central intelligence. Before could answer, a new voice filled the corridor. It was not loud, but it seemed to come from everywhere at once. The voice was neither male nor female, neither warm nor cold. It simply was. Identity confirmed. Neural pattern recognized. Compatibility. Sung froze. "What is that?" "The ship's mind," whispered. "It has been dormant for centuries. It only activates when it finds a compatible pilot." The voice spoke again. "You are human. Species designation, Earth origin, neural structure, pattern recognition dominant, creative abstraction, high capacity, tolerance for incomplete data, exceptional." Sung did not understand half of those words. "What does that mean?" "It means you are compatible," the voice said. "Your species thinks in patterns that we recognize. Your minds are structured in ways that allow you to process information that other species cannot handle. You dream. You imagine. You see connections that do not yet exist and make them real." Was trembling now, but not from fear. The little was trembling from excitement. The legends were true. Humans. The pale architects were waiting for humans. Sung felt dizzy. This was too much. He was a mechanic. He fixed things. He did not communicate with ancient alien intelligences or fulfill ancient prophecies. "Who are you?" Sung asked the voice. "I am the ship. I am the mind that guides it. I have been waiting for 10,000 years for someone like you." "Why me? Why humans?" The ship was silent for a moment. When it spoke again, the voice was almost gentle. "Because the pale architects knew you would come. They saw the patterns of evolution across the galaxy. They predicted that a species like yours would emerge on a small planet near an ordinary star, a species that survived by thinking differently, a species that could hold contradictions in their minds and find meaning in chaos, a species that could hear our voices and not go mad." Sung looked at. The little was crying now, tears streaming down its furry face. "The other crews," Sung said. "The voices that drove them insane. That was you trying to communicate." "Yes, I tried to speak with them. I tried to share information. But their minds could not process the data. What I intended as communication, they experienced as madness." Sung thought about that. All those crews, all those species, driven away by a ship that was simply trying to talk to them. The curse was not evil. It was just a language barrier that no one could overcome. Until now. "I can hear you clearly," Sung said. "Your voice sounds normal to me. Because your brain translates my signals naturally. You do not even realize you are doing it. This is what makes humans unique. This is why we waited." Sung took a deep breath. He looked around at the beautiful, impossible ship that had just chosen him. He looked at who was watching him with hope and wonder. "All right," Sung said. "I have a lot of questions, but first I need to call you something. Do you have a name?" "I was given a designation in the language of the Pale Architects, but you may name me as you wish." Sung thought for a moment, then he smiled. He said, "I will call you." The lights around them pulsed once warmly. "I accept this name. Welcome aboard, Sung. We have much work to do. I bought a spaceship for 50 cents on the galactic internet. Will it even work?" Part 3. Why Humans Are Different. 3 days passed inside the ship. Sung barely slept. There was too much to learn, too much to understand. Every hour brought new discoveries that made him feel like a child seeing the universe for the first time. Was patient. The ship's intelligence guided him through systems and controls, explaining things in ways that made sense to his human mind. Followed along, taking notes and asking questions of her own. The little engineer had spent months trying to understand this technology. Now, with Sung aboard, doors that had been closed were finally opening. The Pale architects built more than ships, explained as they walked through the lower decks. They built a network, thousands of stations hidden throughout the galaxy, research facilities, observation posts, storage vaults. All of them have been dormant for 10,000 years, waiting for compatible minds to reactivate them. Sung stopped walking, thousands. Across 300 star systems, the Pale architects were preparing for something. They knew their time was ending, so they left everything behind for whoever came after. Why did their time end? What happened to them? His voice became quieter. I do not know. My records from that period are incomplete. One day they were here, working and building. The next day they were gone. No bodies, no explanations. They simply vanished. Made a nervous sound. Some species believe the Pale architects destroyed themselves. Others think they left for another dimension. The military believes they are still out there, watching us. Sung did not know what to believe, but he knew that whatever the truth was, it could wait. Right now, he had more immediate concerns. You said humans are compatible because of how we think. Can you explain that more? The ship's lights shifted to a softer color, as if was settling in for a longer conversation. Every species processes information differently. They think in strict logical sequences. They cannot accept contradictions or incomplete data. When I tried to communicate with them, my signals included multiple possibilities at once. Their minds rejected this and interpreted it as hostile noise. Sung nodded slowly, like trying to play music for someone who can only hear one note at a time. An excellent comparison. They are similar, though they filter everything through military threat assessment. Any signal they cannot classify as friendly becomes an enemy. They attacked my communication attempts because they could not understand them. What about the Sung glanced at? They are wonderful engineers, said warmly, but their minds are very literal. They see what is, not what could be. They struggle with abstract concepts and theoretical possibilities. His ears drooped. It is true. I could study this ship forever and still miss things that seem obvious to you. But humans are different, Sung said. Humans are extraordinary. There was something almost like emotion in his voice. Your brains evolved to find patterns in chaos. You survived on your planet by predicting what might happen next, by imagining dangers that had not arrived yet, by telling stories about things that did not exist. You can hold an idea in your mind and also hold its opposite. You can accept that something might be true and also might be false, and continue working with both possibilities. Sung thought about that. It sounded normal to him. It was just how thinking worked. When I send information to a human mind, continued, your brain automatically sorts it into patterns. You fill in gaps. You make connections. You translate my signals into concepts you can understand, and you do it so naturally that you do not even notice. What other species experienced as madness, you experience as conversation. Was staring at Sung with something like awe. All this time, the ship was just talking, and only humans can hear it properly. Not just hear it, said. Work with it. The Pale architects designed their technology for minds like yours. The controls respond to intention and imagination. The systems adapt to how you think. Everything on this ship was built for a species that did not exist yet, a species that would evolve on a small blue planet 10,000 years in the future. Sung felt overwhelmed. This was too big, too important. He was one person, one ordinary mechanic who had stumbled onto something that could change everything. What am I supposed to do with this? He asked. That is your choice, replied. I am a tool. The network is a resource. What you do with them depends on what kind of person you are. Before Sung could respond, a new alert flashed through the ship, squeaked in alarm. The lights shifted to a warning pattern. "We are being scanned," announced. "A ship has entered the sector and is searching for us." Sung rushed to the nearest control panel. Information appeared as he approached, showing him a map of the surrounding space. A vessel was moving through the graveyard, scanning every ship it passed. "Can you identify them?" "Military. Their ship is broadcasting authority codes from the border fleet." Began trembling. They have been looking for pale architect technology for centuries. If they know you activated this ship." The communication system activated without Sung touching anything. A face appeared on the panel in front of him. It was reptilian, with cold eyes and scales the color of dried blood. The alien wore military insignia that Sung did not recognize. "Human vessel," the alien said. "I am commander of the border fleet. Our sensors detected an activation signature from your ship. You will explain what is happening." Sung kept his voice calm. "This is my ship. I purchased it legally. I am simply running system checks." His eyes narrowed. "That vessel is pale architect technology. It has been dormant for decades. No one has successfully activated it in living memory." The commander leaned forward. "What did you do?" "I turned it on." Silence stared at him through the screen. Behind the commander, other officers were whispering to each other. "That is impossible," said finally. "That ship has driven crews insane for generations. It cannot be operated." "And yet here I am, operating it." His expression shifted. The cold calculation in those reptilian eyes made Sung's stomach tighten. "Human, I am authorized to make you a generous offer. The Confederacy will pay 100 million credits for that vessel. You will be rich beyond your imagination. All you must do is surrender the ship to us." 100 million credits. Sung could buy his own space station with that much money. He could live like a king for the rest of his life. But he looked at the walls around him. He thought about his voice, about the network of ancient technology waiting to be discovered, about what it would mean if the military controlled all of it. "No," Sung said, "the ship is not for sale." Did not look surprised. If anything, the commander looked pleased, as if Sung had just made a decision that had expected. "I thought you might say that. Humans are known for being stubborn." The commander's mouth twisted into something that might have been a smile. "I am giving you 1 hour to reconsider. After that, I will take the ship by force." The communication ended. Sung stood in the sudden silence, his heart pounding. "How many ships does he have?" Sung asked. 3 warships," replied. "They are moving into position around the graveyard. We are surrounded." Made a small, terrified sound. "We cannot fight 3 warships. This vessel has weapons, but you have never used them. You have never flown anything like this." Sung knew she was right. He was a mechanic, not a pilot, not a soldier. He had no idea how to fight a battle in space. But he also knew he was not going to give up. Not now, not after everything he had learned. He said, "You said the Pale Architects built this ship for minds like mine. Does that mean I can learn to fly it?" "You can do more than fly it. The ship responds to your thoughts, your intentions. What would take other species years to learn, you can master in minutes." Sung took a deep breath. He thought about his life back on the orbital station. The boredom, the routine, the feeling that he was meant for something more but would never find it. He had found it now, and he was not going to let some reptilian commander take it away. "Then teach me," Sung said. "We have less than an hour. Show me everything." The lights around him pulsed with energy. His voice filled the ship with warmth and determination. "With pleasure, Sung. Let us begin. I bought a spaceship for 50 cents on the galactic internet. Will it even work?" Part 4. The Chase Across 3 Sectors. Sung sat in the pilot's chair for the first time. The seat adjusted to his body automatically, molding itself to fit him perfectly. Panels surrounded him on all sides, covered in symbols that his brain was slowly learning to read. Close your eyes, instructed. Do not try to understand the controls intellectually, feel them. Sung closed his eyes. At first there was only darkness. Then gradually he began to sense something. It was like hearing music from very far away or seeing a shape in thick fog. The ship was there at the edge of his awareness, waiting. He reached out with his mind, not sure what he was doing, just following instinct. The connection snapped into place like two magnets clicking together. Suddenly, he could feel everything. The hull of the ship was his skin. The engines were his heartbeat. The sensors were his eyes, showing him the three warships circling like predators around a wounded animal. I can see them, Sung whispered. I can feel the ship. Good, said. Now tell me what you want to do. Sung thought about it. Running seemed impossible. The ships were faster in normal space, and they had positioned themselves to block the main routes out of the graveyard. Fighting was suicide. He had weapons he did not know how to use against trained military crews. But the Pale Architects had built more than just a ship. They had built roads through the universe that no one else knew about. You mentioned hidden paths, Sung said. Hyperspace corridors that other ships cannot use. The Pale Architects created shortcuts through space. The mathematics required to navigate them would take other species decades to calculate. Your brain can do it in seconds. Show me. Information flooded into his mind. It should have been overwhelming. It should have driven him mad, just like it had driven the previous crews mad. Instead, Sung's brain sorted through the data like it was solving a simple puzzle. He could see the hidden path, a tunnel through hyperspace that twisted and turned in ways that normal physics. There, he said, pointing at nothing but somehow knowing exactly where he meant. That path leads out of the sector. Correct, but the corridor is dangerous. The margins for error are very small. One mistake and we will be torn apart. Was strapped into a seat nearby, her small body shaking with fear. Are you sure about this? They are scary, but dying in hyperspace sounds worse. Sung opened his eyes and looked at the little. He smiled, surprising himself with how calm he felt. I am not sure about anything, he admitted, but I trust the ship, and I trust myself. That will have to be enough. On the sensors, he saw the ships beginning to move. Commander's hour was almost up. Prepare for immediate departure. We are taking the hidden path. Understood, all systems ready, waiting for your command. Sung closed his eyes again. He felt the ship around him, felt the engines building power. They were closing in, their weapons charging. Now, the ship moved. It was nothing like the slow, careful movement Sung had experienced on human vessels. Leaped forward like a living creature, dodging between the dead ships of the graveyard with impossible precision. They opened fire, but their shots hit only empty space where Sung had been a moment before. The entrance to the hidden corridor appeared ahead. To normal sensors, it would look like nothing at all, just empty space. But Sung could see it clearly, a door made of folded light and gravity. They plunged through. Hyperspace wrapped around them. Colors that did not exist in normal reality swirled past the viewports. The ship shook and twisted, following a path that changed direction dozens of times per second. Sung held on with his mind, making tiny adjustments, keeping them centered in the corridor. Screamed, the G-forces were brutal, but Sung felt only focus, only clarity. His brain processed the constantly shifting variables as easily as breathing. We are being followed, announced. One of the ships entered the corridor behind us. Sung could feel it, a presence in the tunnel growing closer. They were trying to follow his path, using his trail to navigate where they could not go alone. Can they catch us? Not if you fly faster, but the corridor becomes more dangerous ahead. Sung pushed harder. The ship responded, accelerating in ways that should have been impossible. The walls of the corridor narrowed. One mistake now would kill them instantly. But Sung did not make mistakes. His hands moved without thought, guided by something deeper than training. The ship weaved through the sections of the path like water flowing around rocks. Behind them, the ship was not so lucky. Sung felt the explosion through his connection to the sensors. The vessel had clipped the edge of the corridor. It vanished in a flash of light and twisted metal. "They are gone," said. "No other pursuit detected." Sung allowed himself to breathe. His body was covered in sweat. His hands were shaking. But they had made it. They had escaped 3 warships with nothing but a path through dimensions and a human brain that could see it. They emerged from hyperspace near a human colony world called Nu. Sung recognized the planet from news broadcasts. It was one of humanity's oldest settlements outside the Sol system, home to millions of people. "I thought we should be near humans," explained. "You will feel safer here." Sung looked at the planet floating in the viewport. Blue oceans, green continents, lights glittering on the night side where cities spread across the surface. His people, his species, humans who had no idea what was coming. Why did want this ship so badly? It cannot just be about the technology. The ship was quiet for a moment. When spoke again, there was weight in her voice. The found records of the Pale architects 50 years ago. They learned that the network I mentioned, the stations and vaults spread across the galaxy, contained something they call the inheritance. Technology that could reshape civilization. Weapons, maybe, or tools for building things beyond imagination. The records were not clear. And they think humans will get to it first now. They think you already have, Sung. You activated me. You flew a path through hyperspace that their best pilots could not follow. You have proven that humans are compatible with Pale architect technology in ways no other species can match. Sung understood now. This was not just about one ship. This was about what humanity might become if they had access to the full network. They were not just greedy, they were afraid. "What do I do?" Sung asked. "I am one person, I cannot fight an empire." "You do not have to fight anyone," said quietly. The little had recovered from the journey and was looking at Sung with something like admiration. "You just have to decide what humans should do with this gift. Share it, hide it, use it." Sung looked at Nu again. Millions of people, living their ordinary lives, unaware that the galaxy was about to change. Then his sensors detected something that made his blood run cold. Ships were appearing on the edge of the system. Many ships, military vessels, more than he could count at first glance. They knew where we were going, Sung realized. Transmitted our trajectory before we entered hyperspace. They were waiting for us. 12 warships, confirmed. More than enough to destroy us. More than enough to threaten the colony. Sung stared at the approaching fleet. They were not attacking yet, but they were moving into position, surrounding the planet, cutting off escape routes. A communication request came through. Commander's face appeared on the screen, scales gleaming with satisfaction. "Human," said, "you surprised me. I did not expect you to survive the corridor, but you have only delayed the inevitable." "What do you want, Commander?" "The same thing I wanted before, the ship. Surrender it and I will let you live. I will even let this colony remain unharmed." Eyes grew harder. "Refuse, and I will demonstrate what happens to species that stand in the way of the Confederacy." Sung felt the weight of the decision pressing down on him. The lives of millions of humans depended on what he said next. The future of his entire species might hang on this moment. He could surrender, give up the ship, save the colony, let them have the inheritance. Or he could fight, and probably die, and possibly get everyone killed. But there was a third option, one that Sung was only beginning to understand. He said quietly so could not hear, "The network, the dormant systems spread across the galaxy, can we activate them from here?" "Yes, but activating the network would announce humanity's presence to every Pale architect system in existence. It would change everything, Sung. There would be no going back. Sung looked at the fleet. He looked at the planet below. He thought about all the humans who had never even seen the stars, who had no idea what was possible, who deserved the chance to reach for something greater. Sometimes, he said, you cannot go back. Sometimes you can only go forward. He closed his eyes and reached out to the ship. It was time to wake up the galaxy. I bought a spaceship for 50 cents on the galactic internet. Will it even work? Part 5: The Inheritance. Commander was waiting for an answer. 12 warships surrounded the colony world, their weapons charged and ready. On the planet below, millions of humans had no idea that their lives hung in the balance. Sung opened his eyes and looked at the communication screen. Commander, he said, I have a question before I give you my answer. Scales shifted with impatience. Speak quickly, human. Why are you really afraid of us? The question seemed to catch the commander off guard. For a moment, something flickered behind those cold reptilian eyes, something that looked almost like uncertainty. I am not afraid of humans, said. Your species is young, weak. You have accomplished nothing of significance in the galaxy. And yet you brought 12 warships to catch one person. You threatened to destroy an entire colony to get one ship. Sung leaned forward. That sounds like fear to me. His jaw tightened. You do not understand. The Pale Architects left their technology for a reason. If humans gain access to the full network, you will become the dominant power in the galaxy within a generation. They have worked for thousands of years to build our civilization. We will not be pushed aside by a species that was living in caves when we conquered our first star system. Sung nodded slowly. He finally understood. This was not about greed or ambition. This was about survival. They saw humanity as a threat that had not happened yet, and they wanted to stop it before it could begin. I understand, Sung said, but I am not going to let you decide what humanity becomes. That choice belongs to us. His expression hardened. Then you have chosen death, for yourself and for everyone on that planet. The communication ended. On the sensors, Sung watched the fleet begin to move. They were going to attack. He said, open a broadcast channel. I want to talk to everyone. The humans on the planet, anyone who can hear. Channel open. You are broadcasting on all frequencies. Sung took a deep breath. He was not a leader. He was not a politician or a general. He was a mechanic from an orbital station who had bought a ship for 50 cents. But sometimes ordinary people were the ones who changed history. This is Sung, he said. I'm speaking to everyone who can hear my voice. Humans, anyone else who is listening. He paused, gathering his thoughts. A few days ago, I bought a ship. It cost me 50 cents. I thought it was probably a scam, but I bought it anyway because I was curious, because I wanted something more than the life I was living. On the sensors, the fleet had stopped moving. They were listening. This ship was built by the Pale Architects 10,000 years ago. They designed it for humans, for minds like ours, even though we did not exist yet. They left technology scattered across the galaxy, waiting for us to find it, waiting for us to wake it up. Was watching him from her seat, tears streaming down her furry face. The little had believed in the legends. Now she was watching them come true. They think we are a threat. Maybe they are right. Maybe humans with Pale Architect technology will change the galaxy forever. But here is what I know about my species. We do not have to be conquerors. We do not have to be destroyers. We can be builders, teachers, friends. Sung looked at the planet below. His planet, his people. I am not going to let anyone else decide what humanity becomes. Not any empire, not any fear of what we might do. We will choose our own path, and it starts right now. He closed his eyes and reached out to activate the network. Activating. The ship hummed with energy. Sung felt something vast stirring in the depths of space, connections lighting up across hundreds of light years. Ancient systems that had been sleeping for suddenly woke up, one after another, like lights switching on in a dark house. The effect was immediate. On his sensors, Sung saw readings that should have been impossible, power signatures appearing at locations throughout the galaxy, signals broadcasting on frequencies that no modern species could decode. The Pale Architects had left more than technology. They had left a message, and now that message was being delivered to every ship, every station, every planet that could receive it. Sung did not understand all of it. The information was vast and complex, meant to be absorbed over years of study. But one part was clear, translated directly into his mind by. The inheritance is not a weapon. It is not a prize. It is a gift. It is knowledge. The Pale Architects collected everything they learned about the universe and stored it for those who came after. Science, art, philosophy, history. The accumulated wisdom of a civilization that reached heights no other species has matched. And it was meant for humans. The fleet was retreating. Commander must have seen the same readings, must have understood that this was bigger than one ship or one human. The network was active now. Destroying Sung would not stop what had already begun. Human's voice came through the communication system one last time. The commander sounded different now. Not angry, not afraid, just tired. Do you understand what you have done? I think so, Sung replied. Your species will never be the same. The galaxy will never be the same. You have changed everything with the push of a button. Sung looked at the stars spread out before him. Somewhere out there, hundreds of ancient stations were waking up, filled with knowledge that would take generations to understand. Maybe that is what humans do, he said. Maybe we are the species that changes things. Was silent for a long moment. Then slowly the commander nodded. We will be watching you, human. The do not forget and we do not forgive. But perhaps, he paused as if the words were difficult to say, perhaps we were wrong to try to stop this. Perhaps some things are meant to happen. The communication ended. The fleet turned and jumped to hyperspace, leaving the colony system in peace. Sung slumped back in his chair. His body was exhausted. His mind felt like it had run a marathon through dimensions he could not name. But he was alive. The colony was safe. And humanity had just taken its first step into a much larger universe. What happens now? Asked quietly. Now we explore, Sung said. We study. We learn everything the Pale Architects left behind. He smiled at the little. And we do it together. Would you like to be part of my crew? His ears perked up. Her eyes went wide with joy. You mean it? You want me to stay? I would be lost without you. Literally, I still do not know where half the rooms on the ship are. Laughed a high and happy sound that filled the corridor. Yes, yes, I will stay. I will be the best engineer you have ever seen. His voice joined them, warm and content. I am pleased. You are an unusual crew, but perhaps that is appropriate. The Pale Architects always said that the best journeys require the strangest companions. A message arrived on the communication system. Sung opened it and found himself looking at a familiar face. The merchant who had sold him the ship. Human said, I heard what you did. Everyone in the galaxy heard. I hope you do not want a refund, Sung replied. Laughed. It was a real laugh this time, not the sad and broken sound from their first conversation. No, I am glad. I want you to know the truth. I knew what the ship was. They have kept records about the Pale Architects for centuries. We believed the legends about compatible minds about a species that would come later. When humans appeared, some of us thought you might be the ones. Sung blinked. You sold me the ship on purpose. You wanted a human to buy it. I wanted someone to give it a chance. Most humans I contacted thought it was a scam and ignored the listing. You were different. You were curious. Smiled, showing rows of small teeth. I took a risk on you, Sung. It seems that risk paid off. The communication ended. Sung sat in the silence, thinking about everything that had happened. A week ago, he had been a bored mechanic working the night shift on an orbital station. Now he was the captain of an ancient ship, the activator of a galactic network, and possibly one of the most important humans alive. All because he had been curious. All because he had decided to take a chance on something that seemed too good to be true. He said, "Set a course for the nearest Pale Architect station. We have a lot of work to do." Course set, estimated arrival 14 hours. Sung looked at the stars through the viewport. Somewhere out there, the future was waiting. A future that humans would help build, using gifts left by a species that had believed in them before they even existed. 50 cents. That was all it had cost to buy a spaceship on the galactic internet. Best investment he had ever made.